there were people here because it's important that you guys understand. Dave, it's not happening. Dave, it's not happening. It's important that you guys understand how Israel and the Jewish people lie to us, and uh, how we're all potential victims of them. And so there's a case that happened. It happened October 21st, 2023, 3 weeks after the false flag operation that Israel engaged in, the October 7th false flag, where no Israelis were actually killed and no no Jews were taken hostage, right? No Israelis were taken hostage. It's all fake. It's all false flag. 3 weeks after October 7th, on October 21st, Samantha Woll, who was supposedly a Jewish community leader here in Detroit, was found dead. Now, was found dead outside of her home. She had stumbled out of her home and died on her front lawn. She was, because this is one of these things that the Jews can do, that I'm always shocked at every time I hear this bullshit narrative getting told to us. I I wonder why I'm the only one that sees it. Why am I the only person that thinks these Jews are just lying, and it's stupid? I mean, okay, so initially they said she was killed at around 1:30. So we're going to read the whole story. We're going to go into it. And it's either that day, so technically if it was at 1:30, they initially said it was 1:30, then they moved it to like 4:30 or something. But it's either her funeral was either that day or the next day. Basically, within 24 hours, the Jews seem to do this every time their narrative is being given to us. And I just find it so fascinating. Like, how can you possibly... I know Jewish law, and Jewish law supersedes anything else. Jewish law states that the dead Jew has to be in the ground within 72 hours for the religious bullshit to be accounted for or some shit. I don't know. And you've seen multiple examples of this. The fake synagogue shooting back in 2018, where, what's his name? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank right now. I got Michael Jackson Bolanos in my head, but that's not it. But they do this all the time, where they create this narrative. There was something that happened around June of 2023 where Israel was claiming that Hamas operatives had opened fire on a gas station, killing 4 people. And the claim was that 2 of those 4 people were younger girls, teenage or 20-something-year-old girls, who were... The crime scene was investigated. The girls were swooped up, taken to the cemetery. They had a funeral, and they were put in the ground all within about 2 hours. You guys distracted by Diddy? Diddy's one of those great distractions that they give us. The whole Diddy saga, everything that Diddy is accused of, Jews have been doing for decades, the whole time. The entire time the entertainment industry has been here, Jews have been doing the same shit Diddy has been doing. Why is Diddy the one that gets in trouble? It's the same. Why? Whether it's Cat Williams or it's Kanye West, all they do is come out and bring all the attention onto black people. Not a single fucking, No Jews get brought up except for the dead guy, Epstein, and the guy already in prison, Weinstein, whose charges were overturned, mind you. New sub. Shout out to whoever, Gabe. Whatever. I don't care. I appreciate it. If you subscribe, great. I hope you guys are sharing this video with people who would disagree with me, but you have to know your history a little bit of how these Jews manipulate us and how they operate and how they use things like the Mundt-Smith Act, which is the legal legislation that says the government is legally allowed to use fake news and propaganda against the people. Did he get scapegoated? Yeah, of course. Diddy's a scapegoat, of course. I mean, he did it. No doubt about it. I'm not defending Diddy even a little bit. I think he's a piece of shit. No doubt about it. But Diddy's he's the black guy that gets thrown under the bus to shut the people up. When we start thinking, oh, hey, wait a minute, let's pay attention. Maybe all these conspiracy theorists have been true and been right. They go, oh, yep, you guys are right. Here, look, here's a Diddy. They gave Diddy the career so that he could be the when the time was necessary. Diddy's not like super talented. Diddy's not like super duper smart. He's willing to do. He was willing to do for L.A. Reid all those years back. He was willing to do whatever they wanted to do, and he was willing to play the role. And they gave him all the power and everything because they knew they were going to throw him under the bus whenever the time came. But I really want to talk about Samantha Woll. Most of you, I don't know, do you know about Samantha Woll? The story got international attention. I'm reading you the Samantha Woll page here, right? So, early life of Samantha Woll. Woll graduated from Hillel Day School, 1997, Cranbrook Kingswood Upper School, 2001, and attended the University of Michigan. That's her early life, because she's real, right? Woll was the founder of the Muslim Jewish Forum in Detroit in 2015 in the wake of November 15th Paris attacks. She helped bring high school students of Muslim and Jewish faith together through an essay and art contest in a public event at Wayne State University organized through the Greater Detroit Muslim Jewish Solidarity Council. U.S. Rep. Rashida Tlaib called Woll a friend and an ongoing community member, and an organizing community member. From 2017, Woll served as Detroit's Jewish Community Relations Council, AJC Board of Directors member, and was also co-chair of the AJC's Access Detroit Young Leadership Program. How much you think all these positions pay? How did she even get these positions? I didn't hear about this story at all. Please do tell. It's crazy that you didn't, because this was actually a big story, not just here. Just because it was in Detroit doesn't mean it was a local story. This was a big international story. In 2017, she was selected by the Detroit Jewish News as one of their 36 under 36. From 2019 to 21, she worked as Deputy District Director of the political campaign of Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin. Ugh, God, I can't stand Alyssa Slotkin. She is so fucking awful.
Better than Mike Rogers.
She also worked on the re-election campaign of Attorney General Dana Nessel. Woll became president of the Isaac Agree Downtown Synagogue in 2022. On October 21st, 2023, Woll was found stabbed to death outside her home in Detroit's Lafayette Park neighborhood, rich neighborhood. She was 40. Her killing drew during the 2023 Israel-Hamas war, genocide, drew international attention, but police ruled out anti-Jewish motivations for her slaying. So, anti-Jewish is used there. See, anti-Jewish is used there. It's not anti-Semitic, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic. They're not using those words. Why not? In early November, Detroit police arrested a suspect whom the Detroit News reported was an acquaintance of Woll, then released that person without charges. We're going to go much more into this. Shared out through Messenger yesterday, by the way, including group chat across representation. But please, I appreciate it. Please continue sharing. Help out. We got to help this channel grow because this is the only channel I know talking about these things. That person was released without charges. That was her boyfriend who admitted to killing her. Don't worry, you guys will see. On October 10th, or on December 10th, a different person of interest was arrested for Woll's murder. The suspect, Michael Jackson Bolanos, 28 of Detroit, was officially charged with murder, home invasion, and lying to investigators on December 13th. They couldn't get him for the murder charges, so they're giving him at least 18 months for lying to police. Woll's blood was found on his jacket. No, it wasn't. 2 microscopic dots that nobody could see with their own eyes were found on his jacket. He entered a plea of not guilty. Jackson Bolanos was convicted of lying to police but was acquitted of first-degree murder. The jury was deadlocked on charges of felony murder and home invasion. These deadlocked charges were later dismissed, but he was sentenced to 18 months to 15 years on the charge of lying to police. 18 months to 15 years for lying to police. So at any point, if he starts getting any sort of attention, they can just lock him up for even longer. 18 months to 15 years. Have you ever heard of that before? Have you ever heard of anyone getting a sentence of 18 months to 15 years? Stop. Have you ever heard of anyone getting a sentence of 18 months to 15 years for lying to police? I've never even heard of somebody like getting a charge, like usually lying to police gets you like a, you know, maybe a misdemeanor or something like that.
Fine.
A fine. A felony, you got to do time. 18 months to 15 years. I bet you this guy never makes it out of prison. I'd be willing to bet all the money that he never makes it out of prison. All right, so let's see. Let's just do this. Okay, so we'll put Samantha Woll murder. We'll click news, and then we'll click sort by date, and then we're just going to go all the way back to the first talk about it, because it's really interesting to hear how this shit was first presented to us. Wow, it's a lot of news pages. 8 pages, 9 pages, 10 pages, 11 pages, 12, 13. It's amazing I can't just bring it up. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, crazy, 25, 6, 7, 8. I can't believe I can't just get to the... Okay, it's exactly 30 pages. Interesting. So, you know, because I'm such a drug addict, got to get that cocaine out of my nose. All right. No, this isn't. This is only giving me... Goes back to June 13th, 2024. No, let's do... What the fuck? I can't... How do I bring up the stories from then? Let's go October 20th. I want to see what it says. October 20th, 2023. I wonder if there will be a story. It's just not going to let me see this, is it? Okay, so let's see. The Mirror. So here we go. The Mirror, October 21st. This will be the first day it happened. The president of a local Jewish synagogue was found stabbed to death just outside her home on Friday. So let me preface this by saying, when this story happened, I said to my wife, I says, watch. It'll come out that it was her boyfriend or her husband or something like that, and the story will just disappear. Didn't I say that? Okay. Her body was found with multiple stab wounds with a trail of blood leading to her home, police say. It's pretty interesting. So the story is she had went to a wedding that night. She came home and her security system shows that she never actually closed the door. So it sounds like she was driving drunk as fuck, came home, and supposedly, like, there's movement and stuff inside the home after but then she supposedly passes out in the living room. And then there's well, here, let's just see what they say. A politically active figure in her community, Samantha Woll, 40, was the leader of the Isaac Agree. What the fuck does that even mean? The Isaac Agree downtown synagogue? Isaac Agree? What? In Detroit, Michigan, in the U.S. Midwest, and did work for the offices of two Democratic politicians, Congresswoman Eliza Slotkin and Attorney General Dana Nessel, who was vying for re-election at the time of the brutal murder. The Jewish woman was as kind a person, as Nessel said she'd ever known, and was driven by her sincere love of her community, state, and country, the Attorney General said in a statement on Twitter. I am shocked, saddened, and horrified to learn of Sam's brutal murder. Sam truly used her faith and activism to create a better place for everyone. Sure she did. Sure she did. Slotkin also took to Twitter saying, she did for our team as deputy district director what came so naturally to her, helping others and serving constituents. Separately, in politics and in the Jewish community, she dedicated her short life to building understanding across faiths, bringing light in the face of darkness. She added, my heart aches that we have lost someone so dedicated to serving others in such a senseless act. I miss her relentless desire to serve and her bright smile seemingly everywhere across the Detroit area. Team Slotkin shares in a deep grief of her family and greater community. Again, it's like they're trying to immediately put the narrative in. She just served and served and served. This was a woman who was clearly drunk. She was clearly drunk when she was driving and came home after a wedding and didn't bother closing her fucking door. What the fuck? Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan also released this statement about about Woll's death, saying he was heartbroken to learn Woll, who was one of Detroit's great young leaders, had been killed. Just weeks ago, I shared a day of joy with Sam at the dedication of the newly renovated Detroit downtown synagogue. I wonder who paid for that renovation. Who do you think paid for the renovation of the Detroit downtown synagogue? I'm sure it was them. It was a project she successfully led with great pride and enthusiasm. I know the thing Detroit needs is renovated synagogues. Right? Isn't that when you're driving around Detroit and you're driving and you're hitting up potholes and shit, aren't you like, man, fuck these roads, fix the synagogues. Sam's loss has left a huge hole in the Detroit community. The entire city joined with her family and friends in mourning her tragic death. Woll's body was discovered in the 1300 block of Joliet Place in Lafayette Park neighborhood around 6:30 a.m. after a neighbor called and alerted them to an unresponsive person lying on the ground. The police said they believe the woman was killed inside her home and dragged outside. Man, this shit changes a lot. The police don't yet have a possible motive, though they are investigating Woll's death to the best of her abilities, they said. Her synagogue called Woll's death unexpected. Really? It was unexpected, that's what you say. And added that they don't have any more information either, but will share it as soon as it becomes available. Woll was previously named at 36 under 36, blah, 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 blah. Publication exemplified the healing of the world, which in the Jewish faith is referred to as, who gives a fuck? Many Facebook users flocked to the comment section of the Isaac Agree downtown Detroit synagogue's post honoring Woll, remembering her and sharing her thoughts on what happened. Don't care, don't care, don't care. Okay, so that's that. I'm trying to. I guess we gotta go. Like, it sucks because I can't. A year plus. Maybe that's what I can do. There we go. Sort by date. I hit sort by date, so why is it showing me August 13th? Show me the stories from a year plus. Okay. A man has been charged. Well, I want to see the stories from before that, though. Man charged with killing Detroit synagogue president Samantha Woll will head to trial. See, this is after the fact. This is after the fact. Sam Woll believed in Muslim-Jewish partnership. She hate how quickly fingers were pointed after her murder. God damn it. See, it's so hard to find. Let's do Samantha Woll boyfriend. How about this? This is what you'll find amazing. Two weeks after a beloved synagogue leader was found murdered outside her Detroit townhouse, her ex-boyfriend made a frantic 911 call after taking 4 hits of marijuana from a vape pen and doubling the dose of his new antidepressant. So the guy was Samantha Woll's estranged ex. For some reason, felt the need to double his antidepressant on his own. Okay. Takes 4 hits of marijuana. And then decides to call 911 and say, I think I may be a danger to others, the ex-boyfriend told the operator, sobbing uncontrollably and hyperventilating as he spoke from his car in a parking lot. What have I done? I know I am in big trouble. Within minutes, police would arrive and the distraught man would continue spiraling. I'm having a panic attack. I'm convinced that I may have murdered my girlfriend and I don't remember it, the ex-boyfriend told an officer. I have the motive and the opportunity. I may be trying to outsmart people. And he gets away with it. How does he get away with this? I've never smoked weed and thought maybe I killed somebody. Like, this is one of those things that if this was an episode of one of my wife's shows, I'd be belittling it. Like, no, this is stupid. This is stupid. This, nobody's gonna not kill somebody and then be like, no, I did it. This 911 call may be what some jurors in Samantha Woll murder trial struggled with as they delivered a mixed verdict in a complex and an emotional case that devastated the Metro Detroit Jewish community and her still grieving family, which may have to relive the courtroom trauma all over again. On Friday, after 5 days of deliberations, the jury acquitted 29-year-old Michael Jackson Bolanos on first-degree murder, convicting him of lying to police but deadlocked on 2 other charges: felony murder and home invasion. That means he may face a retrial on those charges, though the prosecutor's office has a week to make that decision, which they decided against. Reefer madness, exactly. For Woll's family, the jury's decision came as an emotional blow as they are convinced that Jackson Bolanos' killer killed their daughter and needs to pay for it. They're convinced, even though there's no evidence. As the family stressed in a statement Thursday, it pains us that justice for Samantha has not been served. So they're convinced that this random black guy who was doing car invasions at the time in the area, who he couldn't have done it. By like the scientific evidence, he couldn't have done it. And yet, the guy that admitted to it, he's not the guy. Jurors left the courthouse Thursday without talking to reporters, just as Wayne County Circuit Judge Margaret Van Houten had encouraged. Like, why can't I ever get called for jury duty on something like this? I'd be the first one to call everyone out. The fact that it was a Jewish judge and that the prosecutor they had all this, they thought that they could get him for murder on second degree or something like that. And it was because the judge was like, no, this is worse. He needs to be tried for hate crime charges and all these other things. The judge is the reason. It was like, to me, I don't understand. If I'm going to be charged with killing a Jewish community leader, the last thing I want is a Jewish judge in that community, because they no doubt knew each other. Like the fact that we just pretend like Jews aren't like that. That Jews aren't extremely racist, extremely supremacist, extremely one-sided. If you don't think they are, it's because you don't know them. Am I wrong? When do you think the Jew is going to side with the Goyim over the Jew? If the Jew is saying, this is what happened, and the Goyim is going, no, that's not what happened, who do you think the average Jew is going to side with?
Their own kind.
They just add insult to injury when they don't even try to make the narrative even halfway real. Oh, it's fucking insane. It's insane. The defense, meanwhile, also is frustrated as it maintains that Jackson Bolanos is not guilty and should have been cleared on all charges, especially given the reasonable doubt that it raised at the trial. Specifically, the defense zeroed in on one key player it maintains raises the most reasonable doubt in the case: Woll's ex-boyfriend. I mean, the fucker admitted to it. In a case that pits one man's story against another, here's how police and prosecutors built their case against one man and allowed another one to go. Ex-boyfriend gets immunity. Jackson Bolanos, a habitual offender, says he stumbled across Woll's body while looking for cars to steal from, was charged with fatally stabbing Woll during an alleged home invasion in the fall of 2023. Her blood was found on his coat sleeve and backpack. Again, are we going to try? We're not going to say that it was just a microscopic dot that wasn't visible by human eye. And cell phone data and video footage placed him near Woll's townhouse in Detroit's historic Lafayette Park neighborhood during the time frame police believe she was murdered. So this is going to be just one of these, huh? According to police, Jackson Bolanos was the only one spotted near the crime scene that night. Yeah, but if she was killed at like 1:30, which was the original time, and her body wasn't found until 6:30, there's a long time frame there, huh? Jackson Bolanos was the only one spotted near the crime scene that night, and he admitted to being there and touching Woll's body, but only after lying more than 40 times about his actions that night. In a rare move, Jackson Bolanos took the stand in his own defense, telling jurors that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time and that he had nothing to do with Woll's murder. He testified that while out casing cars, he saw Woll's body on the ground, checked for a pulse, then fled when he realized she was dead, fearing that he would be blamed for her death, as he was. The ex-boyfriend also testified at the trial and maintained he had nothing to do with Woll's death, that he was granted immunity, which means he can't be prosecuted for anything he said on the witness stand. Why was he granted immunity?
For what?
For her death.
Right, but why?
The defense emphasized this point during closing arguments as it sought to plant seeds of reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors who spent 4 weeks listening to testimony from more than 4 dozen witnesses, including police, forensic experts, crime scene analysis, a home security expert, neighbors, and people who knew Woll personally. Good thing she was Jewish, huh? Because that shit wouldn't have happened if she wasn't.
They only grant immunity when, like, you're giving them the big fish to, for some huge case. You don't get immunity just for some, I don't know.
Because one call, and what would you need immunity from? If you didn't do it, why would you need immunity?
Exactly.
Think about this. How many black guys have you ever heard of in this same scenario getting the same thing? Again, this guy got 18 months to 15, or 18 months to 15 or 25. Which one was it?
15.
18 months to 15 years for lying to police. He will never get out of prison. He'll be killed.
Shit's stupid.
It is. It's like the bridge stories, right? It's like I should be able to look this up and it not be fucking stupid.
Yes.
I should be able to look this up and there not be a boyfriend who admitted to doing it who got immunity so that they could blame a black guy. These Jews are insane. The prosecutor is adamant that Jackson Bolanos is the killer, maintaining his motive for lying to the police was the same motive for killing Woll. He was a repeat offender who knew he was going to go down for a long time if he got caught committing any new crime. He's admitting he was out casing cars. And why isn't he getting charged with casing cars?
Right.
I mean, all these Jews do is lie. They just lie. That's all these Jews do. Lie after fucking lie. They're horrible, shitty people who will lie to do whatever it takes to cover. Like, where was the boyfriend that night? There's not this huge investigation into the boyfriend. But the defense insists Michael Jackson Bolanos is innocent. I wish I could bring up the original trial shit, so you guys could see like how the judge kept interrupting while the guys are presenting their opening statements. The judge is interrupting them.
Not supposed
When does that ever happen?
That's not supposed to happen.
When does the judge override the prosecutor and say, no, we're going to charge this guy for more stuff?
That doesn't.
The prosecution is then responsible for meeting that burden of proof. The prosecution only tries to charge what they think they can get away with. They don't try to overdo it because that makes the whole thing harder to prove. This is one of the most, and this is like, I know I'm always saying things are distraction, but this is an example of exactly what we're talking about. This is Semitism on the highest levels. But insist he's innocent, arguing Buto's word arguing Woll's brutal murder was a crime of passion carried out by someone who knew her. So, in any situation where somebody is stabbed 40 times, that's literally never how home invasion things go. It's never a situation where the guy has such a personal connect to stab somebody 40 times. That takes a lot of fucking effort.
A lot of effort.
We all think that stabbing people is easy. It's not. To pull that knife out and stab again and then to think like, if you think like, okay, so stab, 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 6.
As you're being splattered
7.
with blood.
And the person's fighting you. 8.
Slimy.
9.
Slippery.
Right. Stab somebody that many times? That's well over a minute's worth of stabbing, probably.
Oh, that's.
And you're you have to, like, that's, you're exhausted. You're gonna have blood all over you. You're not gonna have 2 little microscopic dots on you. You're gonna have blood all the fuck over you, all over you. Let's see. The prosecution is adamant that Jackson Bolanos is the killer, maintaining his motive for lying. Oh, wait. What? We just read this. Crime of passion carried out by someone who knew her. That police ignored other potential suspects and conducted a shoddy investigation. There is no evidence that shows his client was ever in Woll's apartment. This is a lot of evidence. Like, and this should scare everyone, because understand that when a Jew is involved, they will just ignore all of this. They will just do whatever they can to get themselves the suspect that they deem to be the one. According to trial testimony, surveillance footage, cell phone data, and DNA evidence, here is how the prosecution built its case against Jackson Bolanos and why the still grieving Woll family believes he is the killer. As the family stated following his 2023 arrest, we firmly believe that they have successfully solved this senseless crime. So, first of all, this guy was found not guilty. So, why isn't that side being presented first? Why is the first side, written by the Jews, given to us by the Detroit Free Press, trying to convince us? Murder after a wedding. It was just after midnight on October 21st, 2023, when Woll was driving home on Interstate 94 from a wedding. We're not going to mention whether she was drunk or not drunk. They don't say all alcohol tests show she wasn't drunk. We don't say that.
They would. They absolutely would if that was...
Right. If she wasn't drunk, it would be quick to point it out.
Absolutely.
Police said she left the wedding alone and appeared to be her normal, happy, joyful self, according to other wedding guests. She arrived at her townhome around 12:30 a.m. About a half hour later, her security system alerted that the front door had been left open and there was no evidence that it was ever closed. You know, like a drunk person would do. Or somebody that got attacked immediately after they went into their house. And it's funny because she has this security system that is like, you'll hear. At 1:02 a.m., Woll sent a text. So nobody attacked her. So clearly she's drunk then, right? Because if she's in her house a half hour later texting and her door still isn't closed, she's probably fucking hammered. Woll texted her friend a text message to her friend, and her phone stayed on for almost a half hour. Well, what did she text her friend? Why isn't that? I mean, this is... these are those details that matter.
Yeah, but that has to do with her privacy.
Maybe. Who gives a shit at this point? We're talking about a murder. And think about if it was anybody else. What was texted to a friend. So she gets home at what, 12:30, leaves her front door open, texts her friend a half hour later, and that's not a relative text message? Who was the friend she was texting? And her phone stayed on for almost a half hour. Who shuts their phone off? Does anybody you know shut their phone off? You plug it in. You may turn the volume down, but nobody shuts their phone off at night. At 1:35 a.m., her phone unlocked again, and her Netflix app was up and running. So an hour later, her door still isn't closed, and she's watching Netflix because she's turned her phone back on. Police say they believe Woll fell asleep on her couch when at 4:20 a.m., a sensor captured motion in her living room. Well, why would the sensors be activated if she was already sleeping in the living room? How would the sensors and stuff have been turned on if she didn't even bother closing the door? A sensor captured motion in her living room. Police say they believe this is when Woll was murdered. Her security system went idle at 4:22 a.m. No, nobody stabs somebody 40 times in 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, and then disappears. There's not movement for 2 minutes and then nothing. There was no more movement. Police would later find signs of a struggle, pillows on the floor, bloodstains underneath, a fruit bowl knocked over. So there was clearly a fight. Well then, when did this fight happen? These details don't make any sense. How would so not only was she stabbed 40 times and somehow, I guess, dragged outside of her house, all this took place in 2 minutes, and then 1 minute later, this guy was found 3/4 of a mile away from the house? No blood on him, nothing? That makes sense. 4:20, here comes the reefer madness. The friend, her boyfriend, the text, my door's open, come over. Maybe. But who leaves their door open? It's one thing to say it's unlocked, but to leave it open in October? That's chilly. Um, 4 minutes after motion was detected in her living room. See, look at how they word it to make it sound more believable. 4 minutes after motion was detected in her living room. No. Jackson Bolanos was seen on video a quarter mile away from Woll's home, crossing the Monroe Street Bridge over I-375. The defense argued there was no way he could have killed her and made it to the bridge that quickly. A detective countered that it was possible as he walked, jogged, and sprinted the route and presented his findings to the jury. It took him just over a minute sprinting, 1 minute 41 seconds jogging, and 3 minutes briskly walking. So, but the thing is, they're trying to say that they're saying this in the 4 minutes. Well, the motion was first detected at 4:20, and then it stopped at 4:22. He was picked up at 4:23. So to say that, oh, well, he could have sprinted that far, again, that's just not, it's not feasible. At 6:30 a.m. on October 21st, exactly 6:30 a.m., it's amazing how all of these things are happening at such exact times. A neighbor who was out walking their dog found Woll's body on the sidewalk outside her home. A trail of blood led from her walkway to the sidewalk, where she had been stabbed 8 times in the head and neck. Oh, thought it was 40. My bad. 8 times is still a lot. According to the trial testimony, an unidentified person was captured on video running in the area about 1:25 a.m. that night. An unidentified person is captured running right around the time when she's watching Netflix. Police were not able to identify that person, who was ruled out as a suspect because Woll's phone showed activity through 1:35. Weeks before police announced the suspect, and it wasn't Michael Jackson Bolanos, or weeks past before. Initially, there was concern that this was a hate crime, as Woll's murder was exactly 2 weeks after Hamas attacked Israel. No. Sorry, yeah, it was. My bad. Sparking a deadly war in the region and an increase in anti-Semitism across the United States. Yes, it did. An increase in anti-Jewish supremacy. Absolutely, that happened. Police, though, say they found no evidence of anti-Semitism in the Woll case. Rather, they got a tip about someone she knew. On November 8th, 2023, 2.5 weeks after Woll's death, police announced they had a suspect in custody. They did not disclose who the suspect was, though multiple sources said it was someone with close ties to Woll who had attended her funeral. Because it was a Jew, his identity was kept hidden. 2 days later, the suspect was released. Police offered no details, though we now know who the person was and how he landed on law enforcement's radar. It was Woll's ex-boyfriend, 41-year-old Detroiter Jeffrey Herbstman, who, just weeks after Woll's murder, made the shocking 911 call, during which he described as a full-blown panic attack, telling police, "I may have murdered my girlfriend." According to police body cam footage, a videotaped interrogation of Herbstman, and Herbstman's own testimony, here is how he became suspect number one. On November 7, 2023, Herbstman, a data scientist, of course, he's a data scientist. It's paid really well because he's a data scientist. He does science regarding data. The science. I was very fearful of what I could have possibly done, Herbstman testified at trial as he sought to explain. Oh, wait. We got it. We got way too far ahead. On November 7th, 2023, Herbstman, a data scientist, was in Kalamazoo for work when a wave of panic came over him. You know, like what happens to innocent people. He was in his hotel room, he said. He had just taken his second dose of a new antidepressant, along with some hits of marijuana off his vape pen. His thoughts started racing. He couldn't breathe. He packed his belongings, went to his car, and called 911. I was very fearful of what I could have possibly done, Herbstman testified at trial, as he sought to explain to the jury his frantic 911 call. Due to the adverse effects of my medication, I had convinced myself that I had killed Samantha Woll. A soft-spoken Herbstman testified at trial, showing little to no emotion as he watched the video replay of his interaction with Kalamazoo police in the hotel parking lot. Because that's, again, like, I watch enough of these dumb shows my wife makes me watch that I know everything about this points to his guilt. Everything. There's no way he would just be cleared, like, no big deal. Oh, you had just taken extra medication? Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. I know we have, you know, this murder scene where there was clearly something personal that took place, and she was stabbed like somebody that personally knew her, and her ex-boyfriend she had just dumped recently, and the house was open, and she was at the wedding, and we know all this shit. But he said he'd just taken extra medication. So, like, you would think after this guy makes this phone call, there would have to be some pretty extraordinary evidence to clear him. The way that they worked this trial against Michael Jackson Bolanos, And the way that they grabbed onto any little piece. Oh, he had 2 dots of blood on him that nobody could see, but we found them. The way that the family is so insistent that it was this black man and blah, blah, blah. Yet this guy just gets the pass? Are you fucking kidding me? He's fought an ugliest in his title. He's got an ugly. Oh, yeah. And then to watch the video and have no emotion. That's what happens. That's usually what killers do. He is heard telling police things like, "I'm in trouble and I don't remember. I don't remember anything." Then why would you think you did it? Where was he? What is the excuse? How was he cleared? Where was he that night? Jurors saw a video of Herbstman calling his parents from the police station, asking his mom if she could please contact the attorney for me. His mom never asked him why he was at the police station or how he was doing, but she did ask, "Are they holding you?"
So your kid just automatically know whatever they're holding him for, he's guilty of? Is that why she...
Your kid calls you and says, "Hey, I'm in jail. Call the attorney." And you go, "Okay."
Are they holding you?
Are they holding you? You don't say, "Why, son? What the hell happened? What's going on?"
Oh boy, he did something again. Apparently she automatically just assumes.
What's his Jewish mother? He probably told her. During his testimony in court, the prosecutor asked Herbstman to explain what he meant in his 911 call, saying, "I have a motive and I may be trying to outsmart people." Like, this is so insulting. Herbstman answered, "People may have thought I had a motive because we had broken up." He also expressed concern about his not having an alibi on the night Woll was killed. He doesn't have an alibi the night she was killed either. According to his testimony, he had gone to synagogue the night before Woll died, went home, listened to a podcast between 8 and 10 p.m., and put on a record before going to bed. That does not cut it.
That's his alibi.
Detective Tutuola would be all over that shit. You know, all those black guys you know with the name Tutuola? Herbstman's, and nobody knows, huh? Nobody, his Jewish mother, nothing. They can't ping his cell phone. They can't see where he was. How come we have all this information about her door was open and all, but we can't ping his cell phone? Herbstman said he was alone that night and he did not learn about Woll's death until the following afternoon when the synagogue had alerted him and others about her death. He said he immediately turned to news media reports to learn more. So when a Jew dies, the synagogue just starts calling everybody that ever knew her?
Perfect sense to me. A lot of people would want to know.
That doesn't make any sense. According to the prosecution, police thoroughly investigated Herbstman, scouring his home, vehicle, phone records, scooter and Uber and Lyft records, but found nothing that tied him to Woll's murder. It said his cell phone data placed him at home that night, though the defense argued he could have intentionally left his cell phone at home to avoid being traced. Makes sense. And apparently they did all of this within 2 days because they let him go 2 days after they arrested him. They had enough to arrest him, and 2 days later they let him go. I know when I was falsely arrested and they kept my cell phone so they could, quote, clear me. It took a week to get my cell phone back. Another 2 months would pass before police arrested Jackson Bolanos. They had tracked his movements across the city of Detroit in the early morning hours of October 21st. Like, this is scary right here. Right? Because how come they can't do all of this when normal non-Jews are murdered? Some 2 months later, they're able to track this guy's movements because they've gone around and found every single fucking camera footage they could find. And they show his exact path between here and there, and then they lose him. And then they find him again and find him all. Like, they had tried to move across the city, Detroit, in the early hours of 21, where surveillance video taken from various locations showed him in all black walking from his girlfriend's apartment in Midtown to Woll's neighborhood and back, at times wearing surgical gloves and a mask. Police say they had footage of Jackson Bolanos from 18 locations and 35 video systems that morning, and a matching timeline of cell phone pings that helped them connect the dots. I've never heard of them doing that for anyone else's murder. In December 2023, after police picked up Jackson Bolanos during a traffic stop in Macomb County, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office announced murder charges against him in connection with Woll's death. They picked him up on a random traffic charge and decided to charge him with murder? They didn't just go get him. They picked him up on a different thing. They pulled him over on a different thing, and they were like, oh, okay, what? Defense grills ex-boyfriend. She rejected you. From the get-go, defense attorney Brian Brown lambasted the prosecution for bringing the case, maintaining police arrested the wrong man for Woll's killing. I still don't understand how he got immunity. He confessed. We're not saying he's an angel, but he's not a murderer, Brown said in his closing argument, alleging police did not look closely enough at other potential suspects, including another love interest of Woll's and a friend who allegedly explained to someone how he would have hypothetically evaded police if he were the one who killed Woll. This is just insanity. Do you guys understand? This is insanity. Brown, though, focused primarily on Herbstman and grilled him extensively during cross-examination about his relationship with Woll. Brown sought to portray him as a jilted ex-boyfriend who couldn't deal with rejection. And it doesn't matter because he has immunity for some reason. According to Herbstman, he and Woll dated for about a year before she ended things last July. He said she wanted more than he was giving her, such as physical affection. So this is yet another one of these, because you hear about this, like it's amazing how Married with Children and like so many of these, the Ropers, like so many of these shows that the Jews gave us, portray things as the wife is this sex pot and the man just wants nothing to do with her. Oh, Peg, no. I would give anything for my wife to have Peg's sex drive. Anything. Yet we're told that for some reason, these Jews, these gay Jews, just don't find their wives attractive enough to sleep with them. And here, these guys were only dating a year, and she's complaining that he's not physically affectionate enough with her. Interesting, huh? He said she wanted more than he was giving her, such as physical attention. Why wasn't he giving his girlfriend physical attention? I blame myself, he testified. Did you change? Brown asked him. I tried, Herbstman said. I tried to call her more. She wanted more physical touching, so I tried that. I bought her flowers. I apologized. They got back together, he said, but she broke up with him again. Brown dug in, telling him She still rejected you, didn't she? I think rejection is an extreme word, Herbstman responded. Brown quipped, she didn't embrace you in her arms and y'all lived happily ever after. That didn't happen, did it? Hertzman said he understood why the relationship didn't work and that he wrote Woll a text that said, I understand. Defense, do you always just make things up that didn't happen? Brown also groped Herbstman about his claims that he was delusional when he convinced himself he had killed Woll. Do you always just make things up that didn't happen? Brown asked. No, Herbstman responded. This is the only time. So you're saying this is the only time that you can remember that you made something up, Brown continued. Herbstman said it was the only time that he recalled having an adverse reaction to medication. How convenient. Did that medication make you visualize something in your mind that happened? Brown asked. No, he answered. So why would you think you'd killed her? Brown then posed this theory. Are you familiar with repressed memory or blocking out details of a traumatic event? Brown asked as he pushed Herbstman to explain whether he tried digging deeper to figure out why he blamed himself for Woll's death. You didn't try to get to the truth of the matter and said, okay, maybe I had a repression of a traumatic event, Brown asked. You never tried to figure that out in this situation? Herbstman said he never tried. No, I never did. No. It was more convenient for you, of course, to take the it's a delusional road, said Brown, who also questioned the man's claims that this was his first adverse reaction to his new medication. You went from no side effects to convincing yourself of doing murder, Brown asked. Yes, Herbstman answered. Though he stressed that he never killed anyone and that his thoughts about doing so were based on drug-induced delusions, not fact. Are you responsible for Samantha's death in any way? Assistant Wayne County Prosecutor Ryan Esley asked Herbstman during the trial. No, he answered. And that's all that it took. They asked him one question, he said no, and they were like, okay, this guy's good. Where's that black guy again? Bring him out here. Doesn't it sound like I'm making this up? Doesn't this sound like a really bad episode of like SVU or something like that? You would think there's no fucking way this guy gets away with this shit. All calmly sitting there. No. Yes. No, I've never had any adverse reactions like this before. Nothing's ever happened, never hallucinated. No, this one time I just went to the extreme for some reason. It was the marijuana. It was the vape pen. The jury would hear from another 30-plus witnesses before Jackson Bolanos took the stand, admitting he initially lied to police about not seeing or touching Woll's body the night he was out casing cars for things to steal. But he only did so, he said, because he feared getting blamed for her death. So he lied about that, and that gets him 18 months to 15 years. Nightmare on Detroit Street, no shit. When I realized she was dead, I wanted nothing to do with the entire situation, he testified. I'm a black guy in the middle of the night breaking into cars, and I found myself standing in front of a dead white woman. It doesn't look good at all. There you go. That makes sense, doesn't it? Does that make sense more or less than I had a delusion where I had an adverse reaction to the medication? That's why I admitted to doing this thing. What makes more sense in the world we live in? Like, it's just impossible that a black guy could stumble across a dead body, huh? How come the neighbor that found him?
Involved in killing it? Yeah, that's impossible.
How come the neighbor that found? I would assume they're another Jew. Another filthy, filthy Jew. My wife hates when I say those things. But their belief structure is filthy. It's a filthy, horrible belief structure. This is a fantastic example. I wish I could find all the initial shit, all the initial setbacks, and everything that the the judge did, and just all of it. You know, they requested a different judge. They actually requested a different judge, and they got denied. And it's fucking nuts. It's crazy to think that that a Jewish judge should be allowed to preside over this. It just doesn't. It's such a terrible conflict of interest.
I mean, not if they can remain impartial.
But they can't.
You would have to prove that.
Well, the proof is in the fact that they interrupted and they wouldn't let the prosecution this, and they added all these charges, and there's lots of proof. And I'm supposed to believe that this high-ranking Jewish community leader doesn't know the judges in her community? That's just insane. That's not real. Hogwash, the prosecution countered during closing arguments, calling Jackson Bolanos a chronic liar and imploring the jury to convict him. Well, that's that. Well, they say it's hogwash, so that's a good argument there. There are simply too many coincidences to suggest that anyone other than the defendant killed her, Esley argued to the jury, saying the defendant has lied repeatedly. Don't believe him, Esley told the jury. He got caught in a lie. He sat in that witness chair and lied to you. That's all he did. He lied and lied and lied. That is the closing arguments. You have to be kidding me. What the fuck is going on here? This is just scary, man. This is the shit that scares me the most. That these Jews can do this. That they can just make somebody a bad guy. I mean, it's just fucking crazy. And acted out a scene. Defense attorney Brian Brown didn't just argue with Samantha Woll slaying. Didn't just argue that Samantha Woll's slaying was personal. He acted out the scene for the jury as he hunched over in the courtroom and mimicked the killer bludgeoning the beloved synagogue leader in the back of the head. This is a crime of passion, Brown said, during closing arguments, as he sought to convince the jury that police arrested the wrong man for Woll's death. We're not saying he's an angel, but he's not a murderer. The prosecution maintains. I don't believe him. Brown contested. Let's see. Prosecutor urges jury to convict defendant in Samantha Woll. The prosecution maintains Jackson Bolanos murdered Woll during home invasion, then fled because he didn't want to get caught. And yet didn't bother to take any. Oh, look at nice new truck that they're driving. That looks brand new. God, I hate them so much. Brown contested that theory as he showed the jury evidence photos that was found at the scene. Woll's purse, laptop, keys, and cash were still there. Right. If he was breaking into her house, why wouldn't he take anything? If this was a robbery, this wouldn't have been the picture. It would have been taken. You don't take someone's purse, money, credit cards. Brown acknowledged his client had committed petty crimes. We know he was hitting cars. We know he has a history. If he wanted to steal her car, the key is right there. Laptops, credit cards, money. Nothing is taken. Like, everything about this tells you what you need to know. Brown also pointed out that Woll's home had been not been ransacked. This is not a robbery, Brown said as he showed the jury disturbing photos of Woll's slit throat and 2 stab wounds to her skull. Yeah. They did not come to rob her, they came to kill her. As for the blood that showed up on his client's jacket, Brown said that makes sense given that what Jackson did when he found Woll. He said he checked for a pulse on her neck, which means his jacket rubbed up against the blood. Why is there only blood on his sleeve? That's not a coincidence. The reason is because he did not kill Samantha Woll. Brown said as he repeatedly stressed the crime of passion theme. Where she was stabbed, this was very strategic. This was a deliberate act, a crime of passion. Michael Jackson Bolanos had absolutely nothing to do with this murder, nor did he ever go inside Samantha Woll's home. There is not a shred of evidence of that, he said, later stressing, I feel bad for her family. They are not getting justice. This is not justice. Brown asked jurors to consider this theory, that Woll struggled with her killer inside her home, then ventured outside hoping she could get to a neighbor for help. Samantha was a fighter, he told the jury. She had a fighter spirit. Well, check her fingernails. Brown spent much of his closing argument focused on potential suspects, specifically an ex-boyfriend of Woll's who allegedly admitted to police during a panic attack that he killed Woll, but later recanted his story. It's not alleged, he did. There's video of it. The boyfriend was never charged and testified at trial on behalf of the prosecution and was given immunity. Brown argued to the jury that the ex-boyfriend was not thoroughly investigated. He said he was allegedly upset about Woll breaking up with him and rejected him multiple times and was granted immunity in exchange for his testimony at the trial. Brown asked the jury to consider this about the ex-boyfriend. When he was arrested, he allegedly had a defense lawyer. The police were very nice to him, and his father told him not to say anything. Brown portrayed the ex-boyfriend as a pot-smoking, paranoid liar who admitted to killing Woll but then recanted and said he was delusional that night and that his psychiatric medications were causing side effects. Brown argued the ex knew exactly what he was saying and what he had done, telling jurors that's why he called the police and said, I'm in trouble. But then the ex-boyfriend's lawyers swooped in and said he had a delusion and they bought it. Brown also addressed a seatbelt cutter. The prosecution called it a knife that was found in his client's pocket after Woll's death. He noted multiple knives were found, including one belonging to the ex-boyfriend that could have been the murder weapon, but they were not evaluated or tested for a connection to the crime. He argued police did not do a thorough job, but rather sent their sights on his client only. This is not a thorough investigation. Stones were left unturned. I think they deep down had reservations about the ex-boyfriend recanting. Brown wrapped up his 2-hour closing by imploring the jury not to find his client guilty. I have a good idea who did it, Brown argued without giving any names. But it wasn't his client. He's innocent, Brown said. The prosecution will get a chance, blah, blah, blah. It's fucking crazy, man. You tell me who other than a Jew. I mean, it's just shocking. Do you think that police would do that for your family? Oh, but she was a community leader, so why would that matter? Why would who she is dictate the urgency for solving the crime? And oh, let's see if I can find this. Let's see if I can find it. This was the other thing I wanted to show you guys. Samantha Woll funeral. Funeral for fallen Melvindale officer. No decision on retrial and Samantha Woll. Wait, what? The Jewish News. Samantha Woll made an enormous impact in the Detroit Jewish community during her short life. Do you realize, like, they're the ones that separate themselves? They're not part of the Detroit community. They're part of the Detroit Jewish community. The Christians don't do that. They don't refer to themselves as the Christian community. They're just the Detroiters. It's fucking crazy. Among the countless heartbreaking yet beautiful tributes at Samantha Woll's funeral service, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel reflected on the immense outpouring of love from all those who knew Woll following her tragic death. What stands out to me is these sentiments are also remarkably similar. Sam was said to be kind, caring, compassionate, sincere, loving, a tenacious advocate and supporter of social justice, a woman of great faith with a passion for equal treatment of all people in every space. Well, then you can't be a woman of great faith now, can she? This was not an option. This was not an opinion. This was a fact. This wasn't just how Sam presented to some people. It was how Sam treated each and every person who ever came into her life. Sure. Samantha Sam Woll was a cherished daughter of doctors Margot and Douglas Woll. They're both doctors. And the dear sister and sister-in-law of doctors Monica Woll Rosen and Benjamin Rosen. It's a lot of doctors. It's a lot of doctors. They must be just so much smarter than the rest of us. Woll was born and raised in Metro Detroit, attended Hillel Day School, and graduated from the University of Michigan. She had a passion for traveling and loved to explore the world. At heart, she was an artist and a lover of all forms of art. She appreciated music, theater, opera, museums, and frequently sought to bring artists of all kinds together. She was loved, blah, blah, blah. Judaism was core to Woll's identity, as was the state of Israel. Well, then she couldn't have been that compassionate, now could she? She was heavily involved in local, state, and national politics, serving on the campaigns of Nessel, blah, blah, Slotkin, and Senator Stephanie Chang. Woll had a deep passion for the city of Detroit. She served as the president of Isaac Agree Downtown Synagogue, IADS, and revitalized congregation in the heart of Detroit and helped lead its fundraising campaign and recent grand opening. She was widely recognized for her tireless activism and passion to make the world a better place. She was a Jewish News 36 under 36 awardee in 2017, a connection with the people. Woll was a powerful interfaith bridge builder and was engaged with the Muslim and Hindu communities in that space. She was also deeply devoted to intercommunal bridge building with the Asian American and African American communities. Well, if you're so big on building the bridges, then maybe we should get rid of the division, huh? Woll was the founder of the Muslim... God damn it. Woll's ability to engage person, blah, blah, blah. Rabbi Asher Lopton, a special quality of Woll's... And it's interesting. She's someone who did not have any children herself. I think someone like her brings hope for our children that this can be a better world. I'd never heard of this broad before this. And it's funny because, like, her personal life, her young life, she doesn't really appear on the scene until 2000 whatever, 715 or whatever. I just couldn't care less about this stuff. I'm trying to find her fucking her funeral. Sam's friends cross socioeconomic. Those uniquely personal relationships Woll forged were on display at her funeral, which was attended by an overflow crowd of over 1,000 people from all backgrounds at Hebrew Memorial Chapel in Oak Park. I heard it was 300. I was going to make a big deal about 300. Now we're saying 1,000. The service, which took place just one day after her death, she's a 20-something who unexpectedly was killed, and a day later, not only is and a day later, I'm pretty sure it was later that day. I'm pretty sure they're trying to say it was a day later, but I think it was that day. A funeral is put together, space is found, the grave is dug, the service is all organized, and 1,000 people were able to stop what they were doing and come to this funeral one day later. Back in the Mohert and Edna had to go back. I don't know. I don't know what you mean. In her eulogy, Dr. Monica Woll Rosen passionately described her older sister as the glue of the family and the kindest, most generous human she had ever met. Man, you would think the shock of her sister's senseless, timeless death, she would need more than 24 hours to pull herself together to write a eulogy. But I guess not, right?
Maybe they have them pre-written. It's just ready to go.
Yep.
Because you never know when somebody's going to die.
And they just update it every year. Yeah, okay.
So cynical.
There's nothing you wouldn't do for your family or friends. Your soul was beautiful and pure. You loved with all of your heart, Rosen said through the tears. You so deeply wanted peace for this world. You fought for everyone, regardless of who they were or where they came from. You were the definition of leader. You brought us light. The last message Woll sent was a heart emoji to a friend. Who? Just at 1:35 p.m., she just sent a heart emoji to her friend minutes before she was killed. Great Aunt Edna had her funeral go bag ready. Oh. I mean, if you're old, yeah, sure. I have my eulogy. I have all that. I have all of my stuff prepped and ready to go for when I die. It could happen any day, any minute. I get that. When you're old, yeah. To say this young broad had it is just stupid. Just because, Rosen recalled of her sister, you sent hearts to cheer people up and let them know you were thinking of them because you cared. The outpouring of love for you is a token of your many friendships. There isn't a soul on this planet who didn't adore you. Oh, I was going to say how ridiculous it was to think that one day later, 300 people could just be at a funeral. But now the narrative is that it was 1,000, over 1,000 people stopped what they were doing and went to a funeral. I mean, seriously.
I had to go to a funeral tomorrow. I could. What's wrong with you? Just grab some black. I'm good.
Hey, Job, I'm not coming in today. There's a funeral. Somebody died yesterday. Do you think your boss is going to believe that?
You know, we've got everybody so trained that if you question anything that has to do with religion, oh my God, you're in trouble. You can't question. It's my religion.
Right. Well, if your religion is true, and you're proud of it, then you should welcome questions. You shouldn't. It shouldn't be one of those things where it's like no, no, no. I mean, this is like insane, isn't it? Mourners recall slain synagogue leader. Police say no evidence yet of hate crime. They're looking for it. A Jew got killed, so it must be a hate crime. This is the craziest fucking story I've heard in such a long time. Killed on October 21st and a funeral on October 22nd. No. The funeral had to be on October 21st if the story is on October 22nd, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right, when they're talking about the funeral being held in the past tense on October 22nd, that means it was on October 21st.
Yeah.
She was killed on October 21st. Guys. How does that make any sense to you guys? Have any of you ever experienced a death? What do you think the idea of the funeral actually happening that day are?
Mike had his shit spelled out and we stood for 3 weeks.
It's a great example. So my wife just had a wealthy relative die. He knew he was going to die. He didn't know when he was going to die, but he knew it was coming. He was in like end stage cancer and didn't want to do anything about it. Kept it all secret and just died. Like suddenly, like out of the blue. But he was also really, really like meticulous. He was very detail oriented. And so he had everything spelled out. This goes here, this goes here, this is what happens here, this. It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Who was killed? A woman named Samantha Woll. She was supposedly a Jewish community leader here in Detroit. 1,000,000 to 1. Right. I mean, it's not possible. The idea that I'm going to have a funeral and there's like just the idea of wanting people to be there.
Yeah.
But how does this even work? If she's killed and discovered at 6:30 a.m., when does the funeral take place?
Later that day. I mean, I guess
it's under sketchy circumstances, so there would have to be like an investigation, right? Isn't there an investigation that takes longer than 20 minutes?
I mean,
and then how do you get the church, the synagogue is already the cemetery is already ready. How do I only have 0 viewers yet 2 of you are talking to me? Still takes about a fortnight here to get things done logistically. Usual practice. Right. Unless they're Jewish. Whenever it's Jews, you hear this narrative that somehow they're able to do this within, and it's when it's Jews and it's like high profile things. It's always. They're in the ground and the funeral has happened long before any sort of investigation could possibly take place. So the narrative just isn't true. The narrative that the funeral took place a day later isn't true. Why are they lying about that? She was technically killed on the 21st. And the funeral had to take place on the 21st for them to be talking about it on the 22nd. How is this legitimate? What?
No.
Almost.
No.
How is this a thing? Guys, make me look stupid. I'm telling you. I want to look stupid. I want this to be something where it's like, oh yeah, duh. How does this again? So the synagogue calls everybody that's ever known this person, and then has the funeral later that day, and like all these people could just get there. How do all these people get to the funeral? Like, if you're somebody that's important like that, everybody you know doesn't live here. Wouldn't grandparents and other relatives want to be at your funeral? Considering how important Jewish funerals are to Jews, make this make sense. Unsure, perhaps a religious thing. I mean, clearly it's a religion, but make it make sense. How do you have a funeral that day? How could you possibly get 1,000 people? Like, I would love to see anybody get 1,000 people to do something. You say, I give you 8 hours or so, and you say, okay, I can get 1,000 people there to go do something shitty, sad, sucky. Not like I'm giving out free hundreds. Everybody come grab one. Yeah, that's easy. Guys, make sense of this. I'm stupid. You're smarter than me. You tell me how funerals can happen that day. And then why the narrative is lying to us and hoping that we're too stupid to catch the details. Like, think about that. That's even more sort of like, what the fuck? Why is the system telling me that the funeral happened a day later, but it wasn't? This is literally like, I'm telling you guys, when I'm telling you guys that Israel and the Jews have no quorums with lying to us to get their way, this is a fantastic example. And this is what happens all the time. All the fucking time. I'm telling you. Hai Shaline, another guy the supposed number one Israeli protester against the masks and all that stuff, against COVID and all that supposedly was swooped up at a no mask rally. 2 days later, he was swooped up and arrested at a no mask rally. 2 days later, he was taken to the hospital, and 8 days later, he was dead from super COVID, apparently. 2 days, he was fine. He was fine. He was at a no mask rally. He went to the police station. 2 days later, he's come down with COVID so bad they have to take him to the, in the sterile jail where everybody supposedly has their vaccines. This guy somehow comes out with super COVID and dies 8 days later. Literally says the police poisoned him. And yet, when he has his funeral the next day, he dies on a Sunday and his funeral's the next Monday, nobody cares. Nobody asks about why he said the police poisoned him. Nice. There's nothing. There's literally nothing about it. And then I went to look. Okay, this is the number one protest guy, right? This is the number one thorn in Israel's side. There should be multiple stories about him, right? Nope, he doesn't exist. No social media pages, no previous encounters that get nothing. He doesn't exist. I am unfamiliar with Samantha, so just guessing. Which is strange because, again, this happened 2 weeks after the fake false flag, October 7th, 2023, bullshit Hamas attack where no Israelis were killed and no Jews were taken hostage, no Israelis were taken hostage. 2 weeks after that, this happens in Detroit. And it's WOLL. Look it up. If you can make sense of that story, her Jewish boyfriend admits to doing it. And instead of being considered a real suspect, he has no alibi for where he was. He's all she had just dumped him, like all these things. He's given immunity so he can testify at her trial against the black guy they're trying to throw the book at. You guys, this is what terrifies me. This kind of shit. This is so much scarier than any Halloween movie or horror flick or anything like that. Although Outbreak is probably the scariest movie I've ever seen. Only because the government nukes the fucking people at the end. That's pretty fucking terrifying. But knowing that this is how they operate, that at any point you could get blamed for some Jew's death and be fucking innocent. And they will do this to you. Everybody wants to bitch about the world and bitch about how our society doesn't work for us. It's not good for us. And I'm sitting here telling you why. Telling you it's by design. They are doing this to us on purpose. And instead of you taking that for what it's worth, but you want to argue about Trump? You want to argue about Trump Harris like you're supposed to? Like the Jews tell you to? They got Elon Musk bribing people. Hey, you want a chance at $1 million? Sign this pledge that you're going to vote for Trump. I'll sign that shit in a heartbeat. I don't give a fuck. I'll even vote for Trump. You want to give me $1 million? I do not give a fuck. For $1 million? There's a lot of shit I would do for $1 million. You could probably get rid of me on here. All you Jews paying attention. You give me $1 million, not $1 million after, before taxes. $1 million take home. You never hear from me again. I'll shut the fuck up. I'll stop making videos. But since I don't trust you, since I know what scam artist you are, there's no way I'm going to do it beforehand. I think my next song, I finally got inspired to write a song. I haven't been writing much lately. But I think I'm going to write a song about Michael Jackson, Bolanos. This guy got 18 months to 15 years. Have you ever heard of anything like that? Have you ever heard of anybody getting such a ridiculous sentence? 18 months to 15 years. Stop. Have you ever heard of anybody getting such a ridiculous sentence for, quote, lying to police? He got the 18 months to 15 years for lying to police? What? What? What kind of insanity is that? Please, somebody tell me they've heard of something that crazy before. Come on. Tell me somebody else that got 15 months to 18 years as a sentence. The reason they gave that to him is because they couldn't just like they wanted to. And they got embarrassed by it. Actually, I have heard of a ridiculous thing. Okay, I'd love to hear what ridiculous thing that you've heard of that rivals 18 months to 15 years as a sentence for anything. Anything. What do you mean 18 months to 15 years? Make that make sense. Please, guys, share this feed with anybody else you know of that can make sense of things. Because I'm trying to figure it out. I'd love to know what you guys think. You guys understand it's all Jew stuff, right? Everything, especially your stupid religious beliefs. Oh, look, we've got another dumb Trump supporter. Hey, dumb Trump supporter. What about when Trump lost the election in 2016 by 2.7 million votes and the swamp that he said he was going to drain put him in anyway? You want to talk about that? Let's talk about that. Stupid Trump supporters. You want to chase them away, use facts. They don't like facts. Guys, I'd love to hear from you. Especially if you're not dumbass like that. I don't know what you're talking about, so I gotta bring the subject. I gotta bring things down to my level so I can talk about things, because I don't know about things outside of what I talk about. Yeah, I know, you're dumb. You don't know. I get it. It's terrifying, man. It is terrifying. The way these Jews operate. My dad only kicked out of the state of Missouri for 10 years for abusing me to the edge of death, abusing my siblings and my mother. I mean, I'm really, really tremendously sorry about that. But that's not anything similar to what we're talking about. Your dad should have gotten killed. No offense, but anybody that does that to children and whatnot, they should be killed. But that's not what I'm talking about. You know, that guy potentially has a longer sentence than your dad did for abusing 2 children and a woman. And all this guy did supposedly was lie to police. Won't offend me. Say whatever you want. Good. I shouldn't offend you. Nobody should ever get offended by what people say. If you get offended, you're giving the power of someone to offend you. Like that's crazy. You're only offended by truth. I can't offend somebody. I can't shame somebody for being too good looking or too smart or too savvy, or if you're super skinny, I can't shame you for being fat. If you're not fat, I can't shame you for being fat. I can only shame you for being fat if you're fat. And you already know it's a bad thing. But again, that's not the same thing. We're talking about different shit. I mean, I'm sorry. Again, that's horrible. I'm glad you got away. But I need you guys to then think, Pat, like that's the guy that should get the 15 years, right? But this guy got 18 months to 15 years. Have you ever heard of anything like that before? Have you ever heard of such a ridiculous thing? 3 weeks old. I'm sorry. Again, I'm very much opposed to child abuse, child anything like that. Like I don't have sympathy for those people. To me, those people should die. To me, what we should do is kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? We give those people to people who hurt. There are plenty of people out there who hurt people. There are plenty of people out there who will rape and violate people. So if we say to those people, hey, you get to be on the list. If you're good, if you don't violate anyone against their will, then when somebody does violate somebody, we'll give those people to you. And you can do whatever you want with them. Then we would make the rest of us safe from all those psychotic people. And we could really discourage the people that would do it, knowing that they're not going to get some slap on the wrist. They're going to get given to someone who's going to do the same, if not way, way worse things to them. What the fuck is going on? You didn't get away. Well, then that one's on. Oh my God. Spent the following 11 months in an incubator and was given to an abusive father. Yeah, I mean, again, the CVS is the worst. CPS is the worst. 86% of the cases of abused children are related to CPS. Is mom here? No. So.
Why?
She just walked down the street. Yeah.
How much longer do you think?
Yeah, she just got the truck and took off. Luther Kamala supporter, says the super smart Trump guy who doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that Trump's never won an election. He lost by 2.7 million votes. But you're too stupid. It's fucking nuts, man. It's crazy that these are the stupid people that come on here, trying desperately to distract us from what we're talking about. These fake these fake Israeli bot profiles come in here and just talk nonsense. They can't actually address what's being said. They can't debunk anything. You do an interception. Oh. I mean, it's. I just don't understand what everybody is thinking here. Like all these idiot Trump supporters. If it's not Trump, then they call the government out for what it is. They call these actors out for what they are. It's all bullshit. Yet when it's the actor, when it's the guy that was on TV for 12 seasons or whatever on The Apprentice, when it's this obvious piece of shit fucking Epstein supporter, nope, then they're like, no, that's our guy. We're big Epstein fans, right? You guys are big Epstein fans? Because Trump was. I just got done listening to Muslim versus Christianity debate. Yeah, but those are the same things. That would be a debate between like, a tomato, a beefsteak tomato and a garden tomato or some shit, right? Like they're both tomatoes. It's just fucking stupid. Thinking about America first again, until you can address the fact that Trump lost the 16 election by 2.7 million votes and was put into office anyway by the swamp he was supposed to drain, you're just acknowledging what a dumbass coward you are. So every comment you make from here on out acknowledges you as a coward. Yeah.
Were the babies with her?
Nope. You're a big fan of Juan Epstein. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you like lots of Epsteins. You believe in 1,000 genders and that men can get pregnant. See? Do you see what I say? Like whenever really dumb people, bots, Jews, can't actually address what's being said, they start arguing their own narrative. And it all this guy's going to do is consistently prove it. And again, trying to prevent us from talking about it. Trying to prevent the conversation from continuing. Go, baby. Go, baby. Nice. That was great. But see, that's the thing. It's like you so these guys have the opportunity to be like, look, yeah, I don't agree with pedophilia. I don't agree with murder. I don't agree with all these things that are happening. And instead, they want to be like, oh, well, welcome back. Like, this is the stupid shit that we're always dealing with. It's the same stupid nonsense. If you have to remember, if these guys could debunk something I'm saying, they would. They're trolls. They're here trying to disrupt the feed. But because I don't say anything false, they can't. What could they focus on? So they sit here and they just try to desperately to make up dumb shit and get as much attention their way as possible. But believe me, if they could say something intelligent, they would. They just keep saying dumb shit because it's all they have. You know, all these dumb Trump supporters that support Israel? I thought you didn't like foreign stuff. I guess when it's Israel, it's okay. When it's the Jews because they tell you they're special. You know, we're not going to acknowledge the fact that Trump's never won an election before. Not going to acknowledge the fact that obviously the Jews that run the show put Trump in charge for a reason. Yeah. He lost only the popular vote, bro. He won the electoral college. Right. So only 3 times that the popular vote didn't get it right were Trump and then George Bush Jr. both times. Every other time the popular vote can get it right. But for some strange reason in 2016, 2.7 million more people wanting Trump to lose, that wasn't enough. I mean, it's just like, this is that stupidity. It's like your belief in the Constitution, right? All of you stupid ass constitutionalists out there. Yeah, the Fourth Amendment protects me from the illegal searches and seizures. Well, unless there's extenuating circumstances, then your rights go out the window. Oh yeah, well, my First Amendment, free speech. Well, then again, unless some Jews get offended, then I'm not supposed to say it. Yeah, no. Think about any other time where the person that wins the vote, or the person that wins the competition that gets the most votes, doesn't win. The only time that ever happens is with the United States president. And again, that only happens 3 times in modern history. Because that all makes total sense. And then you know how Trump got in office and drained that swamp, didn't he? Remember how he promised Hillary would be in prison? Yeah, Hillary sure went to prison. To hell with human trafficker Harris, but not Trump. Not Trump and his best buddy Epstein. That's okay. You like that part. Because you like men more than you like women. We get it. You know, when it's a dude doing stuff, you're like, yeah, I'll take that. But when it's a chick, oh, I'm scared of intelligent women. Intelligent women scare me. They make me feel inadequate. God, they just walk into it. They just walk into everything. When the greatest sort of human trafficker that got busted in our time frame was in prison and had the tapes and all that stuff, did the Trump people press and force the investigation and all that? Nope. Kept it quiet. But this is a Trump supporter supports this. That's what they support. They support covering up Epstein. That was a good thing, wasn't it? Just like COVID was a good thing. You know, the Trump people that gave us COVID, that locked down the country and had so many small businesses losing, closing and all that. That was Trump. But we don't like talking about that, do we, dumbass? It's scary because it's like, can you imagine being that stupid? Like, how difficult is it to be that stupid? It's amazing when you think about it. How can you be that stupid? To think that one side of we're gonna slap you with the left or right hand, and you think that you like this, that the right hand's painted orange this time. I know it smacked me in the face a bunch of other times before, but this time it's orange, so this time it won't do it. So Trump supporters should also support Diddy. Absolutely. But Diddy's black. Trump supporters are racist. Your average Trump supporter is a racist. Diddy is the scapegoat. Diddy's getting in trouble for what Jews have done the entire time Hollywood's existed. There's nothing special about anything Diddy's done. You guys should look up Terry Richardson. You guys should look up Leslie Moonves. Leslie Moonves got in trouble for fucking sexually assaulting an employee. He used to be the head of CBS. And he got in trouble for sexually assaulting an employee. I think it was Jerica. And was given a $40 million severance package. Trump supporters are just so stupid. You know, Trump had the opportunity to prove that he wasn't who we think he is. He are who we thought we were. They are who we thought they were. Right? Like he had the opportunity. He had Epstein. The FBI, CIA, they admitted that they found in all three of his residences, they found safes inside the media room. The media room existed, which was a special state-of-the-art media room centered inside the location, wired throughout to record any conversation or anything happening in any place, any room of that house. They found tapes and CDs and flash drives with the name of the person, the name of the victim, and how old they were. They admitted to finding all those. What did Trump do? Look, the Trump supporter is so mad, he goes, "Loser! You're a loser! You're a loser! You know about these things, that makes you a loser! You're supposed to forget about these things, you loser! I don't mind the children, I don't care. I like Agent Orange. Orange is my favorite color." Look at his dumb ass. He gets mad and says, "Loser!" Could Trump supporters be more predictable? They're so dumb, it's unreal. So fucking dumb. Loser. You're a loser. Don't bring up those things. Jesus. Like I said, man, this is the same system that gives us Samantha Woll. See, it's funny because these guys, these fake bots, these dumb bot profiles, only showed up when the proof was really like right in front of you, right? Like a lot of this stuff I'm talking about, Samantha Woll, it can be, it's interpreted, it's this, it's that. It could be many other things. But when you see that the media is saying that on the 22nd, they're saying that the funeral happened a day later in the past tense, when the murder supposedly happened on October 21st, it's right there. It's an undeniable, like, fuck up. The ChatGPT narrative fucked up here. And it's up to us to point it out and to tell everybody, look, you want evidence, right? Everybody's always talking about evidence. I want evidence. Show me evidence. I am showing you evidence. You can find the evidence for yourself. It's right there. If you don't see this, you're probably a dumb Trump supporter. But even then, even you dumb Trump supporters, you should see this, right? You can at least tell the date, right? You can count, right? Can you count? I think you guys, I give you the benefit of the doubt that you can count as at least as high as what's on your hands and shit. So I know we're talking about the 21st to the 22nd, but if you just go with the ones position, we go from the 1st to the 2nd, you can understand how that's not a reasonable amount of time, right? Especially when you're talking about a funeral that was attended by 1,000+ people. Please. Super smart, not loser Trump supporters. Explain it to me, you dumb bot. You dumb Israeli bot. Prove me wrong here. Prove that you're not just some dumb Israeli bot. And prove me wrong. Come on, guys. Like, I'm giving you all the opportunity. I'm the one that's going against the narrative. What a fake. What a fake. Wow, what a fake. Goff needs to be given the credit on that one. You guys paying attention? Lions game's on. I thought it was a run for sure. I bid it. Agree, the numbers don't work for the time allotted. Exactly. And that's the key. That's the start. I don't know who you are, Cherish. I hope, I've gained a new supporter, a new follower, whatever. But if I can just get you to see like a crack. You see the first crack in the illusion, right? That means you're gonna be able to see more. Once you start seeing the crack, it's like the windshield, man. It's like a spider crack. Once you get that initial thing, it's just gonna keep going as far as you let it. It goes as far as you let it. If you want to see this thing all the way through and you want to understand what you're seeing, it's right there for you. And then if you take this and you say, okay, this is a international story that's being presented to us. That means the collusion is across the board. You're going to start to understand what you're seeing. This is a super important feed here. If I'm able to reach somebody, one person, who knows? Who knows who that cherished person knows? I don't know. But I know from here on out, Cherish is going to look at that one thing differently. And that's always going to play in her head. Hey, they were lying about that. What else are they lying about? Always, always pay attention to the Jews and the funerals. Remember when they claimed there was a synagogue shooting? Oh, I guess Cherish retracted her message for some reason. Oh, all of Cherish's messages were retracted. So Cherish just blocked the page and was what? Kicked off? How did that just work? How did that just work? As soon as it's pointed out, now you're back. What happened? Why was you agreeing with me just retracted? I hope you understand what you're dealing with here. This is truther on a whole different level. Lots of truthers claim to be providing shit and, you know, accidentally kicked yourself. Why would your messages be retracted? That don't make no sense. Just because you got kicked off doesn't mean your messages get retracted. Say it again. Say again how you agree that the numbers don't work for the time that's given. And they're not even really being real accurate about it. I can't seem to find when the actual funeral took place. Where, when, what's going on? Shouldn't that be pretty easy to figure out? Perhaps because I'm cleaning my Google. So, something that never happens and that doesn't quite make sense, you're more willing to say it might have been something you did as opposed to them doing it to you. They don't. The numbers don't add up. Right. Make sense of it, guys. That's all I ever ask you guys to do. If I'm not making sense, then tell me I'm not making sense and let's go. But when you're experiencing things you've never experienced before, understand what's happening. My feed should be one of the biggest. When you look at what's done here, when you look at the presentation, when you look at the fact that I don't no dead air, none of that shit. How does that work? How am I nothing? Why am I nothing? You don't think anybody gives a shit about this stuff? Nothing to be sorry of. See, Cherish, for you, this is just like, oh, this might be this might be that. For me, this is what happens. There's nothing surprising here. You're not the first. You definitely won't be the last. Doesn't matter. Everything you're saying, whether you cleaned your history, it doesn't remove your comments from my video. That's not how that works. Understand, if you came back, then why didn't the comments just come back? It's right there. It's all in front of us, guys. It's all about what we choose to see. The Samantha Woll story is our, high shaline. It's them lying to make the narrative what they want it to be. When they did the fake synagogue shooting, the fake synagogue shooting, it was like, I don't know, 11 people or some shit were killed. And it happened on a Sunday. For some reason, the Jews were going to synagogue on Sunday that day. But then Monday and Tuesday, Monday half the people were buried. Tuesday the other half were buried. No investigation, no nothing like that. So what happened? Like, again, to think like funerals, within 24 hours, they were able to separate, to organize and put on 4 funerals, and then, or not 4, more than 4, 5, 6 funerals, and then the next day they were able to do another. Like, does that make any sense? Didn't work the same way, Cherish. Sorry, you cleared your history. You said, watch, I'll do it again. And then that message stayed while the other ones went away. Oh! Sorry, you're down, buddy. Beauty. It didn't work. See, I told you I cleaned my history. Yeah, but it didn't work. It wasn't accurate. You fucked up. You fucked up. And it's what it is. You know? At this point, it won't matter what you do because it's not going to be believable. You guys got to see the world for what it is. Right? You gotta see it. Like, you gotta get to the point where you don't even see the code anymore. You just see it, the image. That's what that metaphor is. And like I say, I mean, it's right there. If I'm wrong, just show me what I'm wrong about. Just show me. Anyway, everybody, have a great day. You pedophiles out there, kill yourself.